on psychedelics, which are basically plants or synthesized drugs that cause a psychoactive effect in your brain. And a lot of people are talking about them nowadays, and I just felt inspired to kind of share a little bit of my story and my perspective on it. So the first time I started smoking weed in high school, and that definitely counts as a psychedelic, but it's not nearly as potent as some other things such as magic mushrooms. And so I first ate magic mushrooms in 2008, which was now almost 12 years ago, which is crazy. But the first time I did that, hello Blair, feel free to share any of your thoughts on psychedelics, or if you have any questions, I'm open to questions or comments. So anyways, the first day I did magic mushrooms in 2008, it really felt like it was like the first day of my life. It felt like I had been asleep my whole first 17 years. I was 17 at the time, so it felt like I had been asleep for my first 17 years, and like I finally woke up, and I was like asking my friends, I was like, is this real? Like, is this real? And I kept saying, like, who else knows about this? Like, I was so shocked that it felt like this secret had been kept from me my whole life, and then I finally uncovered it. And this first time I did magic mushrooms, it was like the first time I felt like I saw the beauty of nature for the first time, and I was just like, how have I not been appreciating the beauty of trees and squirrels and everything? And I was like walking around just in total awe. And what's up, Donnie? And then eventually I started to come down off the mushrooms, and I was just so inspired by this whole experience. I felt like I had a whole new perspective on life. And so this was around the time when I first got a laptop, so I just started doing as much research as possible into psychedelics and into altered states of consciousness and all these other things. Blair says she was thinking the same thing when she first started to wake up, like, who else knows about this? So anyways, yeah, I started watching like every documentary I could find on psychedelics and just any altered states of consciousness. I started studying Buddhism, all these other things, and it began like this quest of like learning about the universe and learning about myself. And one other big realization I had the first time I did mushrooms was I realized how much of like an insecure asshole I was being to so many people. Like, I was kind of a bully to a lot of kids in high school, and it was like I zoomed out from my ego. I actually just posted a meme about this morning. It was like I zoomed out from my ego, and I could see how I was doing all these behaviors because I felt insecure myself, and so I was making other people feel to try and make myself feel better. And I was like, I don't need to do that. Like, I don't need to be mean to people to feel good. Like, that's insane. So anyways, I had that revelation, and that kind of started me on this path of trying to be a nicer person. So anyways, fast forward a zillion years later, that was in 2008, the first time I had mushrooms. I started really revering psychedelics and wanting to experiment with them. And I didn't really have any sort of guidance except like the YouTube videos I was watching. So, I would go out in the woods and eat mushrooms by myself and have all these revelations and visions and stuff. But looking back on all of this, I feel like, they say hindsight is 20/20. I feel like I do have some wisdom now that I'm a little bit older to kind of caution people a little bit. Will definitely caution people a lot, actually, with exploring psychedelics. Like, they are extremely beneficial, but they're also very powerful and, are not something to be treated lightly. So, like along my 2011 through 2015, I did about 15 ayahuasca ceremonies, primarily in California, which were all profound and life-changing. And with all of this in mind, they say that, you should be aware of doing psychedelics if you have any kind of uh, case for depression, or like they say if you have any sort of borderline mental illness, it's dangerous to do psychedelics. And I think that we all kind of have borderline mental illness growing up in this crazy society, and that most of us are not aware of certain tendencies within ourselves. It's hard to get a gauge on ourselves because we're in our own minds most of the time. So anyways, I feel like I am generally like a very mental type of person, and generally like somewhat ungrounded. That was my kind of energetic state growing up, and I feel like a lot of people that have kind of an inclination towards spirituality and stuff, we tend to easily almost like float away from grounded reality. Blair says, psychedelics are so helpful. I can't express the healing it's provided for me. Definitely medicine for my anxiety. Yeah, I definitely see them as medicine, and I think they have to be treated that way. But I've recently been just, encouraging people about the importance of integrating psychedelic experiences. And it's almost like if you don't do your homework after you get the message, then you're like abusing it. Like say the medicine tells you that you need to stop eating Pop-Tarts for breakfast every day. They like show you vividly like this is made of toxic sugar. It's screwing up your mind. Like you need to stop eating Pop-Tarts every morning for breakfast. And it's so clear to you in that moment. But then you go 1 week without Pop-Tarts, and then you stop eating, and then you start eating Pop-Tarts again. It's like you didn't get the message. You're not doing your homework. And I think that's the case with so many people in psychedelics. They have this profound transcendent experience, but then they don't know how to ground it and bring it back into their daily life. And like I did, as I said, about 15 ayahuasca ceremonies, and what I learned there is that everything is ceremony all the time. Like when you're in ceremony, you have heightened awareness that everything is vibrating energy, and every moment you're sending out like a ripple into your reality. And once I like got that message, I was like, okay, I can just live my life this way, and I don't have to necessarily take psychedelics to remember that everything is connected and everything I do ripples out. So that's why I'm wearing this shirt right now, which you can read for yourself. This is a shirt from my dear brother, whose name is Cornflower. He's an amazing live loop pedal musician, and his album's called You Are the Medicine. And that was basically the message that I got back in like 2014, that I didn't need to keep doing psychedelics. Like I've basically done 0 high dose psychedelics in the last 5 years, because I just got the message that I am the medicine. I just need to live my life this way, and I don't need to be venturing through the cosmos, because I have an important mission to do right here on Earth, and my vibration is already what it needs to be to accomplish that mission. I don't need to keep trying to like raise my vibration or whatever. I just need to like do the freaking work to help change the world. And I think that's like a big point I want to express is like, if you can imagine, psychedelics are like a vertical journey. They take you into like this higher realm where you can see things from a different angle. And so you're basically shooting your energy vertically. And that's very helpful and important to like get insights and stuff. But I feel like what we're here to all do is our dharma, which is like our soul purpose. And I think our dharma is like shooting your energy horizontally. It's like bringing your purpose into the world, whether that's your art, your music, your job, whatever it is. It's like putting your energy horizontally. And I feel like if you're constantly taking psychedelics and just going vertically, then it's really hard to like get any momentum or trajectory going horizontally and actually making an impact on the world. And that was like the message that I got, and that I saw so many of my friends just like constantly going into this vertical space of exploring higher consciousness, but not actually like bringing their medicine into the world. And so I think that's the importance of like integrating our experiences and like, you know, really saying like, okay, I saw on psychedelics that we're all one. So now I need to do the internal work every day to live a lifestyle that believes in that reality, that we're all one. So that means I need to work hard to treat everyone with kindness and integrate my shadow and all these other things to live like that is actually true. And I think a lot of people don't integrate the truths that they realize, or maybe they don't know how to. And so I just want to show you like almost every psychedelic experience I've had, I've journaled either during the experience or directly afterwards. I have a little stack of just a few of my journals from the last few years. These are all like totally full. And, you know, I'm really a huge advocate for journaling and like trying to bring back, whether it's psychedelics or any yoga class, whatever, it's all about like bringing back the wisdom and then applying it into your life. Like the core message of this video is integration and application. You know, another metaphor is like you go to a gym, like a new fitness place, and they give you a tour of the place. They're like, this is how to use this machine, and this is how to do the pull-up bar and all this stuff. And you're like, okay, now I know how to do all the machines, but are you actually going to the gym and doing the workout? You know, like that's really what it's all about, having like a daily practice to do the exercise, you know, the discipline. I have these, you know, 6 pillars that I encourage people to take note of in your own life, which are sleep, diet, exercise, and then life purpose, connection to Mother Nature or spirit, and human relationships. And for me, those are like the 6 pillars that everyone should have in balance. And if any of those 6 pillars are off balance, then your whole life's going to get wobbly. You know, if you're not getting good sleep, then it's going to screw everything up. If your diet is not beneficial to your health of mind and body, then everything's going to get screwed up. If you have all the other 5 components, but you don't feel like you're actually doing your sole purpose, then you're going to feel unfulfilled. You know, so I think we really have to balance all 6 of those pillars. And these were all the like lessons that I learned at psychedelics that I put into my notebooks. This is literally just like a third of the notebooks I have at my house here. But my like homework assignment from my psychedelic journeys was to write these 2 books, which are basically like one book together. The first one is called Unlocking Our Superpowers. The other one's called The New Earth is Here. And these are basically like everything I've learned from my psychedelic journeys, and 90% of this is outside of psychedelic journeys, but a lot of it was inspired by psychedelic experiences. But I did a huge, tremendous amount of work outside of those spaces. You know, like literally since like 2012, I've had a daily practice every morning when I wake up of doing exercise, yoga, etc. Very rarely do I not actually do that, only on like rest days. But that's really what it takes to be, for me at least, to be grounded. And I think so many people that do psychedelics are kind of like floating in this space of like not really doing their sole purpose on the ground in earth. And I really want to encourage, like, if everyone who did psychedelics like integrated their experience and like translated it into real world action, we would have such radical social change. But I feel like so many people who do psychedelics like have these out there opinions, and they just maybe talk about them a little bit. I mean, obviously I'm a talker too. I talk about it, but I do a lot of real world actions. I organize events, I do sessions with people, I go to other things. I'm trying to put my energy horizontally, as I said, into the world to help other people and, shift society. So I feel like if everyone who had these experiences really integrated it and like turned it into a daily practice, we would have so much change in the world. And yeah, there's some great resources that I'll post in the comments. My friend Patrick Hayes has a great video. Thank you, Blair. Have a good one. So my friend Patrick Hayes on YouTube has a great video about the difference between like abusing a psychedelic and using it as a medicine. If you're using it to kind of escape your emotions, then that's obviously using it like a drug. It's like an escape. But if you're using it to face your emotions and learn more about yourself so that you can integrate your shadow and like, just live a life of alignment, then you are using it like a medicine, but there's definitely a big difference there. And I really think it's important, just like another huge point I want to communicate is like one of the best superpowers you can have is to be able to look at things through different lenses. So, and not be so oppositional to people with different viewpoints. So if you have the ability to try on the lens of like, oh, maybe psychedelics are not so beneficial to be using more than twice a year or something, then that could really help you to like maybe take a step back and look at things differently. But then I also think for like super mainstream people that are like super skeptical of psychedelics, I think they should try on the lens of like all these studies where people have, that is now on like, there was literally a special on the Today Show, a special on 60 Minutes, and a special on Netflix, all in the same week, like 2 weeks ago, about the benefits of magic mushrooms and how they can heal depression and all these other things. So I think for super mainstream people, they have to realize that these things are very beneficial. But I do think that for those of us that are in the like kind of spiritual psychedelic community, we do need to develop certain amounts of skepticism and logical thinking and not get too stuck in our own BS, which is our own belief system. Like there are plenty of people, like I literally know a dude who took LSD and it took him totally psychotic, and he was like running from the police for 3 days and ended up in jail. This is like one of my good friends, just from like 2 hits of LSD, and he had no mental illness whatsoever. So like this kind of shit can happen. It's not an isolated case. Like these things are super powerful, and you need to know that things can go wrong, and you have to be ready for that if it does happen. Like I'm not trying to propagate fear, but like, I mean, I've had many borderline psychotic experiences without psychedelics at all. I believe that I went through like what's called Kundalini psychosis. So Kundalini is like this spiritual energy that flows through your body, and it basically, when it comes through, it can like go to your third eye and like overactivate your third eye. And I've experienced small instances of that. And this is way after I stopped doing psychedelics, This is in like 2015, 2016. I was having some really weird experiences that were just because my Kundalini, I was going through spiritual awakening. And so this kind of stuff can happen to everyday people. And I think that sensitive, empathic people like myself are especially susceptible to it. And like, I literally can't do psychedelics. Like I was at this festival, Resonance, and I smoked like a few puffs of CBD ganja, which is like doesn't actually have THC in it. I hadn't smoked weed in like 6 years, and I was like, I just want to try this CBD stuff. And after like 6 puffs of this, it was like I was tripping on mushrooms. Like that's how sensitive my system is. It doesn't even have THC in it, but like my system is so sensitive, and I've also done so much cleansing and purifying that I think it just like goes straight into my system. But I do think that it's important to like remember that, you know, everyone does have different thresholds, and, you know, some people could take 5 grams of mushrooms and it's like a basic journey. Other people could be like out of their minds for the next 2 months, and like this kind of shit does happen. So like we really have to be aware of this, and you know how to hold space for people if they're going through difficult experiences. All right, so Francine said, went on a journey this weekend in sacred land and assisted many others. Things went wrong, and I had it for some brother, and it was very scary. I know how to take others on journey, and love will always take one back home. Being grounded with guides is very important. She said, it's not for everyone. Some do not need it at all. Yeah, I think some people are a lot more open to these things than others. But yeah, I just think it's important to be very cautious with these things, and really to do the work to integrate them and to hold space for other people to integrate. Like there's retreat centers where you go and you do like 4 ceremonies in 5 days, and then you just like send home, and it's like, how the fuck are you supposed to integrate that? You know, and like I think it's important to be cautious if people are just trying to like get the most bang for their buck or their money's worth doing a whole bunch in a quick amount of time. Like that can really wreak havoc on your nervous system if you're not grounded. So, you know, there's a lot of important practices to remaining grounded. You know, I think daily exercise, or at least 5 days a week, to really like strengthen your muscular system. Like I literally think one of the greatest spiritual practices you can do is like strength training, lifting weights, you know, doing cardio, something that really grounds you into your physical body. And I mean, in conjunction with that is sacred sexuality. Like, you know, activating your lower chakras does ground you and keeps you anchored in your body. And of course, you have to do that with, you know, great awareness, communication if you're with a partner, always consent, respect, you know, all of that stuff is crucial. But those practices can help you to remain anchored in your body, because, you know, this may sound crazy to some people, but I feel like my soul is almost like can easily just float out of my body. And I know a lot of other people like this that are kind of super sensitive to psychedelics. It's like the average person's soul is like freaking tethered to their body, and they can barely ever like float away. But for some people like me, it's super easy to do that, which is a kind of a cool superpower, but it's very dangerous if you start to get disconnected from your body from too many far out experiences. And like, as I mentioned before with the different reality tunnels, like the key is to realize that not everyone's experience is like yours. And most people tend to think, oh, I had this experience. This must be that everyone else's experience is fairly similar to mine. This is like a common human thing. So people with a high tolerance for psychedelics are like, oh, everyone needs to do 5 grams or 10 grams, when really that's not the case. And then people like me that are hypersensitive are like, sometimes might tell people to only do, and this can apply to many things, but people that are hypersensitive like me have that as a frame of reference. And then there's many other cases, but like, you could say the same thing if somebody has only really positive experiences with psychedelics, then that's their frame of reference. And maybe they haven't talked to the guy who had a psychotic break. Like one of my friends who works with maps had a psychotic break in the freaking jungle and like freaked out, and his family had to like come rescue him from the jungle. And like this is real stuff. So Francine says the 13 indigenous grandmothers suggest we all get 100% sober with no plant medicine. Yeah, that's basically the message I got like 5 years ago. And that's why I haven't really done psychedelics in the last 5 years. I have done several like microdose experiences, which I think are beneficial because, you know, when you microdose or even a very subtle dose, it's like your change in perception is very subtle. So you can be like, okay, here's the non-ordinary state, here's the ordinary state, and you can like bring back that difference into your daily life. So maybe when you microdose, you realize that you have a greater appreciation of nature. You can like then cultivate that in your daily life. So that's why I think if you are going to do psychedelics, microdosing is a very gentle way to go. Francine also said, they say that entities come over many who think they're God, but they're entities and that's not real. Yeah, I think that's a very common experience too, like different types of delusions and psychosis that can be very convincing. You know, there's a lot of weird stuff out there, and it's not all sunshine and rainbows, and it's not all, you can't, you should be cautious not to be too naive and trusting of these things. And I say that from my own experience. Like I've had weird things where I feel like I'm getting some cosmic download about a prophecy or something, and then like it just has no bearing in this reality. It's just like it was clearly some weird delusional state that was probably attached to like my wounded inner child of wanting to be significant or whatever. But I think these things happen to a lot of people, and we just got to take like a deep breath and a sober approach to it. So let's all take a deep breath for a moment. Yeah, so for anyone tuning in, remember that you are the medicine and that you have immense medicine in your soul. And, you know, some people think they need psychedelics to feel like totally alive. But like my challenge to you, if you think that, like go be of service to the world and like find your mission in the world. And that will make you feel so much more alive than doing any psychedelic. And you'll actually be making a difference for other people. And you will not be going out of balance. You know, you'll just be serving your mission. And also taking care of yourself is important for that. You know, it's always a feedback loop. You know, help yourself, help the world, help yourself, help the world. It's like this infinity loop. So we have to stay in balance with that. One resource that I want to share is like my tips for integration, which is from this book that I wrote, The Unlocking Our Superpowers. I share like, you know, 10 different things that you can do that are very good for integrating after any kind of transcendent experience, whether it's like, you know, a yoga teacher training or I don't know, hiking in the woods or something. Like it's important to like come down and relax and integrate. So I wrote a few different like tools that are crucial for that. Things like journaling, things like being in water can help your body to just like chill out. And another key important thing to share is that, you know, psychedelics amplify whatever's going on inside of you. That's like their job. So if you have traumas or repressed energies or things that you haven't really faced, then they're going to amplify that. And that's what it did for me before I started to do my shadow work and discover these repressed feelings I had. It amplified like my anger and my repressed energy, and like I wasn't like totally losing it, but you know, the second time I did mushrooms, I was like climbing a tree and felt like I had like infinite energy and stuff, but I was like pretty ungrounded in that experience, and it could have been dangerous if I had like fallen out of this tree or something. Um, so it's just important to be really cautious and mindful throughout these whole things. I'm happy to hear any other people's comments or questions before I wrap up. But yeah, I felt like it was my homework assignment to write these two books, which basically don't even mention psychedelics once. They mention all the other tools and philosophies for living this kind of lifestyle all the time of, you know, holistic activism, as I call it, you know, working on healing ourselves and working on healing the world. So if anyone's interested in either of my books, please send me a message. They're also on Amazon. I really do sincerely want to share this information that has helped me so much, and like provide people with these stories to know that, like, yes, psychedelics are very beneficial, but it's important to be super cautious. And I'm also going to post this link to this conversation that touches on some of these issues that I just listened to. You know, just having that caution related to it. So thanks for watching, y'all. And it's snowing here in Pittsburgh, which is pretty cool. And it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. So yeah, please comment with any questions, comments. If there's things you want me to talk about in future videos. I'm feeling really passionate about this, even though I'm kind of hibernating this winter. But yeah, remember that you are the medicine. Thank you. Shout out to Cornflower. Check out his music. It's so awesome. He does live loop pedaling. I'm going to post it in the comments. Cornflower music. 1 second.
Somebody from UPMC is on the phone.
All right. I'll be right there. All right. I got to go. My phone's ringing. Peace out, family. I'll post the links later.